який зразково виконується.
On the 29th of September 2025, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Oleksandr Syrsky, announced that Ukrainian forces had recaptured nearly 175 square kilometers of territory in the Dobropilya sector as part of the ongoing counteroffensive operation. Furthermore, approximately 195 square kilometers of additional territory were cleared of Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups, strengthening Ukraine's control of the front line in the western Donetsk region. Syrsky added that several Russian units in the sector were now trapped in semi-encirclement, further fracturing their supply lines. Ukrainian success stems not only from ground tactics, but also from control of low-lying airspace through thousands of small drones, which now form the backbone of their offensive. Ukrainian FPV systems are capable of penetrating Russian defenses up to 25 kilometers behind the front line, hitting command posts and supply lines. Every ammunition convoy we destroy means Russian troops will be starved for ammunition for weeks, said a drone operator from the Achilles unit in western Donetsk. Meanwhile, the situation for Russian troops on the front line is deteriorating. Numerous reports mention shortages of food, fuel, and even medicine. Some units reportedly refused orders to advance, preferring to remain in their trenches rather than face relentless airstrikes. A report from the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces states that more than 13,900 Russian troops have been neutralized since August 21, with dozens of tanks and armored vehicles destroyed in the Pokrovsk-Dobropilya sector. Russia's attempt to penetrate Ukraine's defense lines in western Donetsk has proven disastrous. Their massive offensive on Dorivka and Volodivka was halted after waves of combat vehicles were destroyed by FPV drones and precision artillery. From the air, the area now looks like a black field full of craters. Many Russian vehicles still smoke after being hit by laser-guided missiles. The remaining infantry units are trying to retreat, but most are trapped in narrow pockets with no way out. They're not retreating east, but instead going deeper into the firing zone, said a Ukrainian reconnaissance officer. We see them trying to hide in trenches and basements, but our drones see everything. Western intelligence sources say President Vladimir Putin personally set a deadline to capture all of Donbass before winter, hoping a major victory would reassert Russia's power in the eyes of the world. But that deadline has passed, and the results have shown the opposite. In Moscow, state media has tried to cover up the losses, calling the battle for Pokrovsk a limited tactical operation. But military analysts see the opposite. Russia has lost the strategic initiative, said Colonel Ret Mykola Belayev, a military expert in Kiev. This is not just a tactical failure, but a symbol that their war machine is crumbling from within. On the other hand, for the Kremlin, the failure of the summer offensive was not just a military issue, it was a political threat. Putin faced pressure from ultranationalists demanding tougher action, while the Russian public began to show signs of war fatigue. Donbass should have been a symbol of victory, wrote Russian political analyst Tatiana Stanovaya in a Carnegie commentary. But now, Donbass has become a symbol of the impasse and limitations of modern Russian power. With strategic objectives not achieved before winter, the Kremlin's credibility with the Russian public has significantly eroded. In Washington and Brussels, the failure of the Russian offensive was seen as an indication of Moscow's weakening ability to wage a long-term war. Some NATO officials suggested that a frozen front would give Ukraine an advantage in preparing for the spring 2026 campaign. Meanwhile, Beijing and Tehran, Moscow's two key economic allies, are reportedly becoming cautious in balancing their support, fearing that a protracted war could worsen Russia's standing on the international stage. Russia's summer offensive in Donbass, touted as a game changer for the war, has now ended in vain. Pokrovsk, Dobropilya, and Volodivka remain under Ukrainian control, while Russian forces are bogged down in the mud of their own creation. Ukraine now holds the initiative, not because of sheer force, but because of the efficiency, high morale, and technological superiority it has built with Western aid and rapid adaptation to the battlefield. Winter will slow everything down, but for Moscow, the political and moral wounds of this failure will not heal quickly. And for Kyiv, victory at Pokrovsk is not just about land, it symbolizes the fact that even the greatest war machine can be bogged down by determination and strategy. The battles around Pokrovsk and Dobropilya are now a real turning point on the Donbas battlefield. For Ukraine, the successful recapture of dozens of kilometers of territory is not just a tactical victory, but proof that intelligent defensive strategy and inter-unit coordination can match and even surpass a much larger force. Meanwhile, for Russia, the failure of this summer's offensive highlights the fragility of its military structure, from the broken chain of command to the steadily declining morale of its troops. Each day that passes without progress reinforces the belief that the war they started has now become a burden they can no longer control. Winter is fast approaching, but on the Donetsk front, the heat of the Ukrainian resistance is just beginning. If you're following the developments in the Russia-Ukraine war, modern military strategy, and global geopolitical dynamics, don't forget to support this channel by subscribing. Your one click helps us continue to provide sharp analysis, breaking news, and in-depth reporting straight from trusted sources. Stay alert, stay critical, and see you in the next discussion.